Imagine this, there's a spark within you, something you've always known, a quiet natural talent, a gift. Perhaps you even glimpsed it in the moments when time seemed to dissolve and everything felt effortless. And as you consider that now, a question might surface. When was the last time you let that spark ignite into something bigger? Because you see, when you tap into your talents, something remarkable happens. Your mind begins to open, effortlessly expanding, like a ripple in a still lake spreading wider and wider. You feel capable, you feel alive. You remember something you may have forgotten. You were made to thrive. Now here's the curious thing. People just like you, they're asked to use one of their natural talents in a new way every day for a week. And what do you think happened? They became happier. Significantly happier. Not just for a moment, but for months. Imagine that. A week's choice creating a half a year's joy. And as you think about that now, you may begin to wonder, what natural talent of yours could you begin to use differently? Because capability, real, felt, unshapable capability, it has a way of shifting everything. It doesn't just make you more effective, it magnifies your confidence, builds momentum, and becomes the foundation of something much greater. Think about it. Happiness. It isn't one thing. It's all gratitude, belonging, curiosity, and yes, capability. And capability, that's where it all begins. But let's pause here for a moment. Let me share a story. Imagine a dog. The dog is placed in a cage with an electrified mat. But there's an escape, a barrier it can jump over to safety. At first, it leaps over the barrier every time, every single time. But then something changes. A new barrier is placed, too high to jump over. The dog tries and tries until it stops trying. And here's the twist. When the barrier is removed, the dog doesn't leap. It doesn't even try. Why? It learned helplessness. And just for a moment, I'd like you to think about this. Where in your life have you built invisible barriers? Is there something you once thought you couldn't do, and so you stopped trying? What label did you assign yourself in that moment? Not good at math? Not creative? Not confident? Because labels have a sneaky way of sticking to us, don't they? And yet, they're nothing more than words. Words you can rewrite, right now. Because here's the truth. You're capable of so much more than you were told, or even allowed yourself to believe. And sometimes all it takes is one small shift. Think of this. A child struggles with geometry for a year. The next year, they face algebra. But because of the earlier failure, they stop trying. It's not they couldn't learn. It's they didn't believe they could. And isn't it fascinating how a temporary struggle can feel like a permanent truth? Here's the good news. The moment you recognize that belief for what it is, a story, not a fact, you gain the power to rewrite it. And as you think about this now, you might begin to wonder, what's one label that you're ready to let go of today? Because learned helplessness, it isn't just about dogs or math. It shows up in subtle ways, in anxiety, in fear, even in loneliness. Maybe you went to a dance once and no one asked you to join in. And now years later, a nightclub stirs the same feeling inside. But think about it. That was one moment. It doesn't define who you are. It never did. And as you consider this now, notice how the idea of capability starts to feel closer, more real, more possible. What if you flipped the spiral? What if, instead of defaulting to what is easy or what others expect, you chose to design your decisions around what lights you up? Because when you base your choices on your natural talents, on what you truly love, then everything changes. A photographer who becomes an accountant for money might survive, but will they thrive? No, because when you ignore your natural gifts, progress feels slower, work feels harder, and fulfillment fades. But when you lean into what you're naturally good at, that is when the magic begins. So think about this. Google employees, they're asked to use their natural talents at work. Just 6 weeks later, those who embraced their talents were 70% more likely to land promotions or coveted roles. Why? Because when you align with your gifts, you become unstoppable. Now imagine this. You, in a state of flow, fully immersed, fully alive, energized and focused. Can you feel how that might feel? When you are in the zone, You're not just productive, you're fulfilled. Because flow is born from capability. And capability is the seed of an upward spiral. You start with one small win, one natural talent used in a new way. That leads to progress. Progress leads to confidence. Confidence leads to pride. And pride becomes the foundation of happiness. So here's the question. I'll leave it with you. What's one talent you could lean into today? What's one small way that you could remind yourself that you're capable? Wildly, wonderfully capable. Because the truth is, you are. At the moment you remember that, everything begins to change.